Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that really should watch less medical TikTok. It's SIFPOP. Welcome to SIFPOP Weekly, streaming live most Fridays, or available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Woo!
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and the hat makes him look at least 2 years younger. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen.
Ahoy! Oh no!
And each week we will chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And please welcome our guest this week. She has such a fun name to say. It's Alice McKelly!
G'day. I feel like now I should say buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Went with the hard Italian pronunciation.
Michele.
I'm really glad to see you guys. I'm excited to talk some movies.
I have thoughts.
We got thoughts. We got thoughts on movies, guys. That's why we're here. We're going to talk about Indy, The Dial of Destiny. We're going to talk about Extraction #2 and best ever Harrison Ford movies. So that should be a fun conversation. Of course, and Buried Treasure and all that kind of fun stuff as well. I will also say, if you want to check out how you are doing in the Summer Sum Game, because Alice, last time you were here, I think was to make your Summer Sum Game picks. You can go to the website and check that out. It has been an interesting summer already. Not interesting enough that Andrew's ChatGPT picks are looking good, but interesting enough that a lot of the rest of our picks aren't looking so good. So let's just say if you had some faith in Spider-Man, you're sitting pretty right now. So yeah, yes, congratulations, Andrew. That will be your shining star. So check that out by going to sifpop.com, and you can just click on Summer Sum Game, and that'll take you to what the current results are. So check that out. All right, no need to dilly-dally as we head towards the Dilly Dial of Destiny. So let's get right into it with our first review. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Finding himself in a new era approaching retirement, Indy wrestles with fitting into a world that seems to have outgrown him. But as the tentacles of an all-too-familiar evil return in the form of an old rival, Indy must don his hat and pick up his whip once more to make sure an ancient and powerful artifact doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Harrison Ford is back in the saddle as Indiana Jones. And this is I'm going to go ahead and admit, this is the 5th Indiana Jones movie. I will be gracious enough to admit that. After a very poorly received Crystal Skull. So does it right the ship? What do you think? Did you love it, like it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Andrew, kick us off.
It's not as bad as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That wasn't one of the options.
But it's also not as good as Temple of Doom. So I'm going to go with it was okay.
It was okay from Andrew. Alice, what about you?
I disagree. I think it was worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I didn't like it.
Allison didn't like it. I am on the low side of loved it. I had a great time at this movie, and I am so excited to talk about why. The magic is back. I had so much fun seeing Harrison Ford in this movie as Indiana Jones. This movie understands not only what the character is about, it understands how to take the thematic things the character is going through and weave them into the story in a really interesting way. I think you can feel James Mangold's fingerprints all over this thing. He's such a great storyteller. I never felt in any way confused, never felt in any way bored. And considering some of the things this movie goes into, I think that's saying quite a bit. So yeah, I was on board from beginning to end. There are some reasons I say low side of loved it. There are a couple of annoying things in this movie, but man, overall, I had a really, really good time. Andrew, what are some of your general thoughts?
I am going to talk about how much I do think that James Mangold is able to capture the aura, I guess you could say, of how Steven Spielberg did all the Indiana Jones. It feels you say that you feel James Mangold's fingers all over. I feel Spielberg's, but because I think that James did such a good job at imitating Spielberg in some points.
Yeah, but it's yes. I see what you're saying, but I do think he kind of puts his own stamp on it. Like it really is like Mangold Spielberg. You know, if you can kind of feel both those influences, in my opinion.
Yeah. I as another pro, I will go into. I think that the performances, if you want to go, Harrison Ford loves this character, so you can tell that he's putting his heart and soul into it. And whenever you see him on screen, you do feel like, wow, that's Indiana Jones. You don't. It's weird because with a lot of movies he's in, you're like, oh, that's Harrison Ford. Or, oh, that's Harrison Ford. Or sometimes you could be like, oh, that feels like a Han Solo, or it feels like an Indiana Jones. But whenever he's playing Indiana Jones, he is Indiana Jones. He puts on that fedora and he just transforms. Also, I think Mads Mikkelsen is great as the villain in this movie. I really enjoyed him. He just has a menacing presence that he can pull off so well.
Yeah, I agree. Alice, do you have anything good to say about this? You're welcome to sum it up with your bad stuff, but
I feel
that's
like
fine.
I watched a different movie than you guys.
That happens sometimes.
Oh, I think, okay, look, I should mention I've seen all the other Indiana Jones films, but the first one I ever saw in cinema, was in cinemas, and that was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And then I didn't watch the original 3 until I was in uni. I agree that the quality of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is significantly lower than the original 3. And Last Crusade's always been my favorite of the original 3 as well.
Amen.
That's correct.
You're in good company here.
Yeah, I've always found that. And so I was looking, I found that this one, for me, I'm trying to think of something positive because I know we're still on positives. The music, I enjoyed the John Williams score. I did enjoy the John Williams score.
Really good.
What a hot take. You like John Williams.
And I did, actually what I did enjoy was the sets and the actual world in which the movie was set. I think that it really did, the color of it all, the vivacity of it. It was really, really pretty to look at. Like, I enjoyed what I was looking at. I enjoyed the world of it, and I enjoyed the general setting of it. That's my positives, I think, in general. And I agree. Harrison Ford is clearly awake. You know what I mean?
I was genuinely pleased with, I mean, we don't have to dance around the bushes. Like he's an old man, he's getting up there. But
he looks good for
the movie
being as old as he is, I have to say. That opening
he
shot,
really
I was
does. Well, he's playing the exact role the movie needs him to play too. It's not like the movie is asking him, other than one scene that I'm sure we will talk about, the opening, the cold open,
which is what I wanted to talk about next. So,
other than that, the movie is letting him play his age, and I think the way he has aged into the older version of this character is really interesting. And when he puts on the hat and the jacket and the sash, you're just like, yeah, you're older, but you're still Indiana Jones, man. And maybe some of that is just pure nostalgia. I don't know. It's really hard to separate that stuff for me. I mean, you got to understand, these were formative movies of my youth. I mean, despite the fact that I look like I'm barely 19, you have to understand, I grew up when these movies came out, and it's it's so deep in, especially Last Crusade, which I agree is, I think, the best. And I felt a lot of that fun here, and I had a grin on my face the whole time seeing Indy back in action. I also wanted to mention Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I was curious to what you guys thought about her, because I really liked the way she played off Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I actually just realized as you were talking, I did enjoy her performance. Some things about her character I'll get to later, but like I think her performance, I enjoyed her charisma and I enjoyed her chemistry with Harrison Ford a lot.
Yeah, yeah. You gave a little bit of a side to side nod on that. Is Phoebe Waller-Bridge one of your negatives, Andrew?
She's my big negative. I'll say,
whoa.
Okay. I got to correct myself. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is acting perfectly as the character she has been written for. She's doing a great job.
Okay.
I hate the character. I hate that character so much.
What specifically, without being spoilery, what specifically do you hate about it? Because Indy always has to have his foil. He always has to have somebody that's on his team that is also like he's trying to teach something. He's trying to be, bring along. At the end of the day, Indiana Jones is a professor. He's a teacher. And he always has that someone who he's teaching.
Yeah. But whether it be Brody or Judy, who played Elsa, and
Mutt.
all these characters, Data, or not Data, I said Data, Short Round.
Short Round, yeah.
Short Round, yeah. But all these characters, they had a charming, or they had a redeeming quality to them. And I just found Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character to be just very unlikable. And I guess when she was trying to be charming, I guess maybe it came across as arrogance, because there were so many times in this movie where we're supposed to believe that she is this really clever, and an intuitive person, but she's constantly putting herself in situations where any smart person would obviously, steer clear. It just reeked of, like, instead of charisma, it reeked of desperation.
Interesting. I just saw it as like impetuousness, like that she was kind of, jump first, think later kind of character. Yeah,
but she was really smart too. Like when we're introduced to her
do you think those things can't be both?
Are you trying to say like the difference between book smarts and street smarts, something like that?
Well, the difference between,
she's meant to have both very clearly. She's meant to have both book smarts and street smarts.
Well, the difference between situational intelligence versus the contextual way you act within a situation, right? Like there are the differences in character versus mental acuity. Those can be two different things.
I just didn't like the character.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Like, so when I said before, I enjoyed Phoebe Waller-Bridge's performance, but her character and the, not to get spoilery as well for the next one, but I feel like this week, if you wanted to give it like an overall title, is movies with kids that I wanted to jump through the screen and strangle. But besides that, nothing. And again, nothing to do with performance towards the younger kid. Just more the character itself. I feel like this is. And again, if there's still positives, please go back and say your positives. But the main overarching element for me is I feel like maybe this was a 3-hour film when it was originally cut. And then someone was like, no, we can't have a 3-hour Indiana Jones film. And some stuff was brought out because I just feel like there's some elements of the characters, specifically the new characters, that I just didn't quite understand why their motivation. I understand why, for example, the kid's motivation is the way it is, but I didn't understand why her motivation and her way of life and the decisions she makes, where that really came from beyond beyond this other character that we get introduced to and her relation to that character. But even then, the math wasn't mathing for me regarding how that relationship would result in her ending up leading this life. And it just frustrated me to no end, because I also knew obviously where this was going to end up with her character and with Indy. And I also feel like there wasn't those moments of connection we didn't get enough of those for me to believe that would happen. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that matter. And so I do agree with Andrew regarding the character, but I did still, because Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she's good. We enjoy it. She has good charisma, so I did enjoy just watching her.
I will just comment on my understanding of her motivation is that it's very similar to what we see from Harrison in Last Crusade. And in fact, there's even some allusions to the fact that he is teaching her lessons that he learned, about fathers and legacy and taking the obsession of your father and making it your own and those kind of things. So I think that is there. It may not be drawn out enough, but it was enough for me to kind of sense who that character was and what their purpose was within the story. What else? Anything else that you guys want to talk to? Negatives, positives, whatever. Go for it.
Unleash, Alice.
Yeah,
Unleash.
tell us. Yeah.
I don't think we're out of the uncanny valley yet. No,
we are not.
I loved it.
Oh, but you don't think that there was a rubberiness to it?
Yeah, it distracted me. It took me way out of the
movie.
movie.
His eyes were
losing
off.
my vision.
There was one scene at the
there.
very beginning when he's like, just non-spoiler, being interrogated, I'll say, and he's like looking in a direction, and I swear the rendering was off because one of his eyes was looking in a different direction to the other of his eyes. But it was just like I just the whole time I was like, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
No, I don't think we're there yet either. I was distracted a few times during the youngification of Indiana Jones, the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, if you will, and it was
and of Mads Mikkelsen.
And the bad stuff didn't bother me as much. I didn't notice
because
with
that
Mads.
wasn't really de-aged. I think they aged him.
And also, we are so well aware of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones at that age. You know what I mean? Like, so we have such context. But I think for me, the movie made a very bold choice, which was not to try to hide it. Like, the movie was like, not only are we going to youngify Indiana Jones, we're going to give you close-ups of his face, making like classic Indiana Jones faces and laughs and smiles and smirks. And it was just like 3 out of every 4 seconds kind of worked for me. But that 4th second, I just get pulled off, and I was just like, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for us to have it down, because it would be so cool for it to really feel like he filmed this. The other part of it is the voice. And I don't know. I'm sure they did some things with the voice, but there are times where it felt like it was old Harrison Ford in a young Harrison Ford face, and that's difficult as well. So, yeah.
They ran into the same problem whenever they remastered The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. They had them come back and redub their lines, but they were in their 80s whenever they redubbed them. By the way, guys, Harrison Ford's 81 years old. So
yeah,
he's doing well.
I just wonder if you're better off almost getting an impersonator at that point, like to do the voice, like somebody who's because I just don't know that you're able to sound like who you were, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, whatever it was, that this is, representing. So it's
although speaking of AI, we've gotten very good with AI voice bots. Like there are some that you can get, celebrities to say certain words, and it sounds
the Mark Hamill stuff in Star Wars,
them.
The Luke stuff. It's possible. But yeah, I was distracted by that as well. So that was one of the annoying things for me too.
That's weird.
Because I wanted it.
Like I said, my vision is going, but I thought that was going to be like a universal. Yeah, that looked great, didn't it?
I loved it. For us blind people, I loved that scene. It felt
I did enjoy the
old
scene.
School Indiana, yeah.
If the whole movie had been like that scene, besides the de-aging element, but I think that the actual the action and all of that, I was having a good time. But then we got to the action in the rest of the movie, and I don't know what it is. I really don't, but I couldn't connect to it. I was watching, I'll say the one that was using a tuk-tuk. I was like,
yes,
I should be thrilled. I should be thrilled right now. I was bored.
I checked
my watch. I was watching it and I was just like, I don't know why. It was just that and like all
I
these
thought it was
other
really well
elements.
shot, though. Like, I thought it was like I was never confused about where we were. Like, I thought there were some creative ways
Oh.
they used the tuk tuk, and yeah, I thought it was nice.
To me, it felt like it was sped up like Benny Hill a little bit. And that's why I
Mm.
couldn't take it seriously and I couldn't get excited about it. But yeah, I think if they, and this is just going to be an all encompassing like negative for me right here, is I think that this movie suffers from doing way too much CGI. What I love about the original trilogy is everything was practical. And I know that that's a sign of the times and that's just how everything was done back then. But you know what? There was a magic that sometimes you just can't capture whenever you do things, digitally.
Mhm.
And I think
I
that
agree.
this movie, and I'll just say this, my biggest negative for the movie besides Phoebe Waller-Bridge is character, is I think that this third act is a mess. I think
Oh
it's
my
just
gosh.
a horrible mess.
No.
Oh, it's
perfect.
so
It's my
bad. It
favorite
is
part of
so
the movie.
bad.
All right, tell me what I missed. Tell me, because I loved the third act so much.
I'll say, go ahead, Aaron.
Me? No, I wanted to hear from you
I
guys.
thought you were. I didn't want to cut you off.
No.
But
No,
I'll
I want
say
to. I
this,
want to hear what I missed.
Whenever I look at like even Temple of Doom or Last Crusade or Raiders of the Lost Ark, whenever you get to the supernatural element of it, and I think this was a shortcoming in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
The supernatural MacGuffin.
the MacGuffin, yeah. While it was very, spectacular and mystical, it all felt contained. Like the effects of it were very minimal. But I think whenever you look at Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, I think that the MacGuffin is so like this crazy OP element that seems uncontrollable. Whereas if you look at the other three movies, you saw a way to contain it and have top men, if you will, handle it like some weird SCP Foundation does.
I don't know what those initials mean. What are we talking about?
Never mind. Secure, contain, protect. It's this whole online thing. Aaron, you're getting old.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
it means. SCP stands for Aaron got old.
Oh,
It's
okay.
official.
All right. Fair enough. Maybe that's why I love this movie. Us old guys got to stick together. Yeah.
See, for me, it was. I agree. I think the final like act. I was just watching it, and you know what it is as well. I was watching it, and I was like, wow, this really reminds me of the story from the first Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie. And that is not a movie that an Indiana Jones film should try and emulate, because it's not a very good movie. But especially the ending and the MacGuffin and everything around it, I was like, this is literally just the Tomb Raider movie. I saw this in 2003 or whenever it came out. And I just, even the like challenges that they had to solve, I feel like the mystery and the challenges, the reason why I really love Last Crusade is because I really love that final third act where they have to surmount all the different moments, and there's all these like riddles and challenges they have to solve, and Indy's able to do it because he has this like knowledge and this persona, and he's not, he doesn't have the arrogance of the bad guys. But this one, I just feel like I was watching it and I was like, I don't even the bit where they get, there's always a bug or a scary, that sort of element. Even that, I was just like, that's just kind of annoying. Like it was missing the big adrenaline moments. I was just more like, okay. And then the big moment happens and I was just like, I was just like, I think my thoughts were literally like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
was my
I'm right there with you.
First of all, this is nothing like the Tomb Raider movie. The Tomb Raider movie makes a completely different point, almost the opposite point of what this movie makes. And I'll try to tiptoe around spoilers, but one of the reasons I love the third act is how beautifully thought through it is. Like, it makes all of the sense. And I don't know what you guys are talking about. I guess we have to do a Sif spoil because like it's so brilliant what they do with that final moment. And and it's the reason I love it. And the way it plays into the theme of the movie as well, and then the finish. I think this movie finishes really, really strong.
Aaron,
I don't think
know
it finishes.
What are you talking about?
I think there's so much. I remember the movie ended. And I was like, wait, but what about this? What
All
about
right, we'll do a
that?
safe spoil, and you can ask me all the questions you have, and
Okay.
maybe I missed something. Maybe I won't have an answer for you. I don't know. Yeah. But what were you saying, Andrew?
I already forgot. Yeah, I already forgot. But hey, I am glad that you. Hey, I remember what it was now. So I know that you were really close to, having seen this movie, and I'm sure you're going to see it many more times. But do you have a general idea where it's going to land for you within the 5 films?
Yes.
Do you feel comfortable telling us?
Sure, absolutely. You want me to go first?
Sure, yeah.
All right, my order is 3-1-5-2-4. That's my order.
3-1-5-4-2. Okay.
5-2-4.
Aaron's not saying that Temple of Doom is worse than Kingdom of the Crystal
No,
Skull.
I am not. I am not.
Yeah. Okay.
But I
Alice, I assume this is, you said it was at the bottom. Right?
Yeah, but it's like it's more, to be more accurate, it's probably just even with Kingdom. Like for me, it goes 3-1-2, and then a big gap, like huge, like
For 4 and 5.
and then 4 and 5 are just sitting there happy together.
Yeah. I have the exact same, except this would be probably right below Temple. So
Nice.
I'll
make my one last thing, and then I'll go to you guys. I'll make my one last thing. This hot take, maybe? I don't know. I think this movie makes Crystal Skull better. I think it does some work in this movie that actually makes me respect the work that was done in Crystal Skull a little bit more, which honestly, I'd have to go back to check the record, but I remember liking it more than most. I never thought it was a great movie, but I do remember thinking I had a fun time. So I guess that means you probably shouldn't trust my opinion on this one too, maybe? I don't know, but yeah, I think this movie makes Crystal Skull a little bit better with some of the things it does. Either of you have one last thing?
No post-credit scene.
Truth?
I agree with what Aaron said, except for very different reasons.
It's weird
Nice.
because people tune into this podcast to have a general idea of like what to expect going into this movie, and unfortunately, they're listening to this and they're like, "I loved it. It was okay. I hated it."
I didn't hate it. I will say this: I didn't hate it. I don't think I have
Okay.
enough passion behind this movie to hate it. I just will probably never watch it again.
But I think people can also parse our reasons and understand, oh, I generally feel the same way about this kind of stuff, so maybe I'll agree with this a little bit more in general. So yeah, not to assume why you listen to this podcast, but I think you can kind of hear what we're saying and make up your own mind if you want to see it, or if you already have, what you think about it. So yeah, let us know if you also love it. Otherwise, keep quiet. All right, we will move on to the next review. Don't keep quiet. Never keep quiet. We're going to talk about Extraction 2. Tasked with extracting a family who is at the mercy of a Georgian gangster, Tyler Rake infiltrates one of the world's deadliest prisons in order to save them. But when the extraction gets hot and the gangster dies in the heat of the battle, his equally ruthless brother tracks down Rake and his team to Vienna in order to get revenge. Descriptions that are basically telling you the whole movie.
I was just about to say that plot spoils a lot.
It's I don't even know anymore. Like I get it from the main play. It's just like they just don't care anymore. I'll have to do a little more spoiler avoiding in the descriptions possibly, but not that this movie can really be spoiled for you. What did you think? He's back. Hemsworth is back to do a little more raking. How's the yard look? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Alice, what do you think?
Low side of okay for me.
Low side of okay. Andrew?
Loved it.
Loved it. From Andrew. I'm on the high side of didn't like it. So
We've swapped
we've
positions.
reversed.
Yeah.
Andrew, tell us about this movie.
I think that what I love Sam Hargrave doing here is that I feel the action sequences that he, choreographs and the way he shoots them. Yes, they're very impressive. There's a 20-minute one shot in this movie, quote unquote, one shot in this movie.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think that everything felt purposeful in the fight. I think it helped push forward the narrative, and I felt the tension during all of these fight scenes. I think that it's just he knows how to shoot a well choreographed fight scene.
Mm-hmm. I so agree. I was watching it and I texted my friend who had already seen the movie and I was like, no movie needs a 20-minute one take. This is going to be stupid. Because I should also mention, I watched Extraction 1 for the first time ever this week because I hadn't seen it. So I watched that one. I was like, this is awful. I hate this. And then, like, it wasn't awful. It was just like, meh, right? And it had no story and the action was okay. And I found that one take to be quite, I wasn't as interested. And so going into this one that was going to be double the amount of time, I was like, oh no. And then in the middle, I texted my friend and I was like, I take it back. This one take's amazing. It was just I agree. I think the choreography and the tension and my face at certain times when certain like injuries had occurred, I was like, oh no. Like it was
the brick.
There was some, for me, the hand.
That was, ooh.
Yeah. I'll just say there's a moment with a hand that will make you very
There's a moment with a hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and then it just kind of goes through so many different moments, but they're all just as you think you're out of it, you're like, oh God, we're still in it. And what I did like about it, in that it felt purposeful, is that actually I do feel that the difference between this and the first one is I actually felt that there was a good array of different kinds of characters. So obviously you had your Chris Hemsworth superhero, but then you also had the, people he's trying to protect, being this mother and her two children, and you're actually worried for them and you care about them. And I feel like there's more given to the people they're trying to extract this movie than in the last one, where I actually felt things towards them. So agreed regarding the one take.
The one take is spectacular. In fact, most of the action in this movie is really, really impressive. And I don't think you can really take that away from what they are doing here. It's clearly their intent as well. Like, that's part of the purpose of what they're doing with these movies is being like, look, you can do cool action that looks good and that's understandable and those kind of things. I mean, it's no tuk-tuk, but it's, it's pretty good. So I don't think you can take anything away from the action of this movie. And there's another extended action piece towards the end that goes on for a long time. That's not necessarily shot as a oneer, but it still has some interesting things that happen.
Creative use of gym equipment throughout this movie, I'll say that much.
Yes, creative use of lots of stuff. So yeah, that would be my one and only positive thing I have to say about this movie.
It's interesting because I don't think the movie wants to give you any more than that. I think that's what the movie...
Welcome to my major negative.
Well, what more do you need? I think that this... Okay, I'll let you go because I think...
No, go ahead. Say what you were about to say about I believe the story is where you were headed.
Yeah. I enjoy the story. It's simplistic. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be this mind-bending, twist-filled thrill ride. It is a thrill ride, but I think that the movie just wants to be contained in its simplicity, and I am totally okay with that. There's some people over here that need extracted. Cool. Are we going to get some great action sequences? Yep. Are we gonna have any more action sequences afterwards? Sure. Are the villains gonna be intriguing? Kinda. Enough. They're gonna be intriguing enough.
And that's my point. Listen, you're talking to somebody who is on record as saying The Raid 2 is not a great movie. Like you're talking to somebody who is not. I do not bow to your action prowess. Like, it's not enough for me, especially when it's so violent. And violence doesn't excite me. It disgusts me. So, like, there's also that part of it. And I think, I guess I'll go ahead and say this. Part of my issue with a movie like this is it starts to feel like a tech demo. It starts to feel like, you know, this kind of experiment that they're doing, and less like an actual movie. And that's okay. You can still have fun. You can still be entertained. But I really think your experience with a movie like this is going to come down to how much space is there between the parts that you think are cool. Because if you think everything that's going on is cool, you're going to have a blast. But if you only think like something here's, oh, that was cool when his arm was on fire, and that was cool when this thing happened, but then there's 2 minutes of stuff, you're just like, well, now you're just shooting people and punching people. Like, you know, so a lot of it has to do with, like,
but did you see how he punched that dude?
And that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is for you, that is a cool moment. For me, it's like, I don't care how he punched him. Like, it just is punchy. So I think that's where a lot of it's going to come down to. Otherwise, it feels like an exhibition. You know, it just feels like, hey, look at the cool stuff we can do. Okay, cool. I'll look at the cool stuff you can do, but I don't know that it needed to be a feature film. So, and outside of the tech demo stuff, it's not a feature film. There's like half an hour of story outside of the action. Like, that's a short film. So, and it's not even an interesting short film. So, like, you know, so that's where I land on stuff like this a lot of time.
Yep. I agree so much, because even during the amazing one take, I kept being like, this, I feel like I'm playing a video game. There was a lot, especially the bit where we're following the cars, where it felt like you're like literally driving them, and, you know, you get random bits of dialogue without actually seeing the characters based on what checkpoints you're passing. It felt like a video game, and the story just felt like we're just a shooter here, have a story. For me, the way I sum it up is, I think the action part of this movie was amazing. The movie part of this movie was terrible. The story was, you say, Andrew, that you didn't need it to be mind-bending and twisty, and it was simple and it was fine. I don't even know if I would count it as like, it was just basic. Like, I thought that the villain was so and not even two-dimensional. He was one-dimensional, and everything that was happening, it just didn't make. I was tuning out and reading funny letterboxd reviews during all the bits where there wasn't action going on, because I just wasn't interested. And okay, look, I know we're all watching an action film, and I say this as someone who really, really enjoys, like, you know, movies that will have gratuitous violence, like the Suicide Squad or even John Wick. I just find that the story in the John Wick and the lore and the world building is so much more intriguing and engaging, and so I'm so in there even when they're not fighting with, like, you know, pencils or whatever. But in this, I just felt like the story was like, you know, some of the characters, I knew exactly what was going to happen to some that were introduced. And again, that's maybe not a bad thing if that's what you're wanting, but I just needed something more. I think the story's better than the last one, because the last one didn't even have a story. This one, they tried to put something together. I do think maybe they need to actually, like, put together a plot and a plot summary and then determine the action, because I honestly feel like they were like, oh, we should do this, and then, oh, we should do this, and then he should hide from a helicopter behind a ladder, and that'll be funny, and blah blah blah, and then they're like, oh wait, we need something to connect all these threads. Here, Georgian, like, mobster, that's fine, deal with that. And it wasn't enough for me to be engaged, and that's why I ended up in okay, because I was like, oh, all the action bits, I was like, but even the final action scene, I will say the very, very, very final one, that one for me was also disappointing, because it felt very, like, bland in comparison to all the other ones that we'd just seen. And so I think that's because the story wasn't there to pull it together.
Yeah. What is Tyler Rake, I believe, is supposed to be our protagonist? What is his growth in this movie? What does he learn? What is, you know,
he
what do we
learns
know
how to go
about
from
him?
not being able to walk to being able to kill about 50,000 people using a 6-week workout program of logs and stones and push-ups. It's always push-ups, isn't it?
And I'm not saying there isn't something that he learns or grows from or anything. I'm just saying, in this kind of movie, the movie doesn't seem very invested in teaching that to you or showing that to you, enough so that I don't really remember. Andrew, do know what his
Well,
journey is supposed to be here?
his journey's about him losing his child, and him protecting these new children is kind of like him trying to make amends for walking out on his kid whenever his kid was sick. I know that's kind of spoilerish, but
But that was
it's
the last
the
movie's
driving.
motivation.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, wasn't it?
It was, but I can't remember. I haven't seen the first movie in forever.
Yeah.
But that's what I got from this one anyway.
Okay. I mean, I don't think any of us are disagreeing that the movie's point is to be a big bombastic action vehicle, right? Like that's what the movie's point is. And I think your level of enjoying it will be how much you're on board for that, how much you're looking forward to that, and I don't know that it's a big secret with this one why you're going to like it or not like it.
Well, my big negative for this movie, actually, Alice teased a little bit there, and it is the world building or lack thereof. Because the movie does tease some world building, but it doesn't commit to it in any way, shape, or form. You have this character, Alcott, who's played by Idris Elba, showing up at the beginning and the end of this movie, and I'm like, okay, so there's going to be a bigger organization that we're going to deal with. Okay, this is going to be interesting. And then we're left with nothing to... they think it's an appetizer, but they left us a crumb. They think that they're just teasing something, but it's ended up being nothing. We needed more from that character to understand everything.
Well, this is a bona fide hit for Netflix, from my understanding. So, we're going to get more Extraction movies.
They've already confirmed number 3.
Netflix wants their franchise, man. They want something that they can just put out a movie every couple years and know that
This
people
is
are
their
going to
bond.
stay subscribed. So. They want their Extraction. They want their what was the Charlize one? They're doing another one of they want
Atomic Blonde.
Old Guard.
No, the Old Guard. Yeah. Old Guard 2 is coming out. They want a franchise. They're doing another Bird Box, I think. They're aware that they really want a franchise. So
remember that huge hit Bird Box?
It was
that
a huge
everybody
hit for
loved.
them.
Okay,
it
made a lot of money
for
but
them. Yeah.
It made a lot of money, but man, everybody hated that movie.
That scared me. That movie actually scared me. I was like, no, I hate this scenario. This is not an apocalypse I would thrive in. Something else I wanted to mention, and I teased this earlier on, not judging. I know we don't want to judge, child performances, but I can judge child characters as they were written, but from an adult. And I hated Sandro, who's the 14-year-old boy, with every fiber of my being. And I know that they're trying to do he's 14 and he doesn't understand and he's confused and Chris Hemsworth's going to teach him what it means to be a man. Oh my God. I kept being like, just leave him behind. Just let him die. Honestly, it'll be good emotional growth for the characters. It's fine. There's the little girl. She can be the one who then Chris Hemsworth starts talking to. I don't care about him. Let him die. Oh, I think
you're supposed to hate him. I think you're
I
supposed
know,
to hate him.
But I think you're meant to hate him, but then also be like, but he redeems himself or whatever. And I'm just nah.
Yeah.
So
you're saying that the punishment didn't fit the crime.
Correct.
Okay.
I honestly I think it would have been interesting if they just killed him off. I would have been like, oh, I haven't seen that before. And now I'm not unreasonably angry at the movie.
Andrew, do you have one last thing?
No post-credit scene.
Ah, yes. My one last thing is that I think we had a discussion after the last Extraction about him surviving and making another movie. And I just want to say, I don't even remember what I said in that conversation. I remember we saw the shadowy figure, but I will say it is ridiculous that they brought him back to life. That's really silly considering everything.
You just
that
need to go
happened in
live
the
with
last
some
one.
chickens for a bit,
thing.
Aaron. It's fine. Then
Yes,
you're
that's
cured.
how it works. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember I do have one more thing. I really enjoyed the Nick and Yaz characters, the brother and sister. I really liked the dynamic that they had. I really when they were in peril, I was nervous for them. I cared about those characters.
There you go.
I wasn't, because I knew exactly what was going to happen the second that Yaz was introduced. I was like, yep, I know what's going to happen. And then it did happen. Everything that I thought would happen happened.
Everything happened.
Yeah.
Everything happened.
Alice apparently didn't even need to see the movie, and she could have given a review for it.
I think that would have been a perfect tagline for the film. Extraction 2. Everything happened. All right. Before we move on to the best ever challenge, thank you to our Sif Pop members. If you are a member at a certain level, you get to check out the members only pre-shows that Andrew Ormsby is doing. We call them MOOPs now. And we had a good discussion, very even-keeled and respectful conversation about the end of La La Land in the MOOPs this week. If you are a Sif Pop member, you can check that out. Just go to patreon.com/SiftPop. All right, best ever challenge this week. We're going with a bit. Go with. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was weird.
Yeah, I don't know whose end that was on. Was it you? Or?
I think it's on my end. I think that's my end. I think my system's doing something weird. I don't like that. All right. Let's go with a big name. Harrison Ford, best ever Harrison Ford movies for the best ever challenge. We will go number 5 to number 1. If you have it any higher, you will be trumped if somebody has it higher. So yeah, what do you think? What are the best Harrison Ford movies? We'll start at number 5. I'll kick us off. Not afraid of being trumped on this one. I don't think. I did have difficulty here. There was another movie that I was really going back and forth in, and I'll tell you in the honorable mentions, but I ended up landing with What Lies Beneath as my number 5 best ever Harrison Ford movie. Very underappreciated, underrated Harrison Ford thriller. It is Robert Zemeckis kind of doing Alfred Hitchcock, and I think it works. I really enjoy it as a suspense thriller, so check out What Lies Beneath if you haven't seen it. Good Harrison Ford stuff.
It's unlike any role I've seen Harrison Ford play.
That as well. It's always fun to see him do something different. What is your number 5, Andrew?
Get off my plane. Going with Air Force One. That is just such a fun movie. I think Gary Oldman is just chewing scenery in that movie. It's fun. I mean, logistically, it's a ridiculous movie, but that's what I needed when I saw this movie. And it's like it's the ultimate 90s Harrison Ford action film that you need. It's great.
A lot of fun.
I'd vote for him.
A lot of fun to be had in Air Force One for sure. Alice, what is your number 5?
My number 5, and I should mention, I didn't realize how many of Harrison Ford's movies are on my list of shame, so that is why some of these will not be showing up on my list. But my number 5 is a cute little morning time rom-com called Morning Glory. I remember watching this and actually enjoying, it subverts some of the rom-com expectations. And I think Rachel McAdams is really lovable in this movie. And I think that, there's some really good scenes as well that come with producing a show and all the politics. And I think that Harrison Ford actually, he seems to have a little bit of life and seems to be enjoying it. It's before he started hating everything that wasn't Indiana Jones. But yeah, it's a fun rom-com. I can recommend.
Nice. Morning Glory. I've never seen it. Never seen that one.
It's on my list of shame as well.
All right, number 4s. I'll kick us off. This might get trumped. Not sure. Blade Runner 2049.
Trump.
If you don't mind.
Trump. Not surprised. Andrew, what is your number 4?
Well, this is going to get trumped too. The Fugitive.
Trump. Alice, what is your number 4?
This won't. Age of Adeline.
No, that will not get trumped. Speak on it. I will remain silent.
I enjoyed this one. I always like a high concept fantasy or high concept sci-fi where it's just like, this one thing and it's affecting the world around it. I really love the fashion and the settings and the technical elements that are explored in this movie. I think it's a very nice romance. Like, it's a cute romance. I think that it's nice. And if you're in the mood to just watch basically The Time Traveler's Wife, but gender reversed, then this is a good recommendation.
There you go. Age of Adeline. At number 3 now for me, unless Alice has it higher, The Fugitive I have at number 3. So Andrew has it at number 4. I have it at number 3. Ooh, you should check it out. It's so good.
It's on my list.
You
it's
really
on my
should.
List.
Often known more for Tommy Lee Jones' performance than Harrison Ford's performance. I think that's a bit unfortunate. Yes, TLJ is great in this movie, but so is Harrison Ford. So is the plot. So is the tension. So is the structure. This movie just works. It just chugs along and works. So yeah, The Fugitive is a good one to check out. Andrew, did you have anything you wanted to say about it?
You kind of took the wind out of my sails, and I was just going to praise Tommy Lee Jones so much.
Yeah,
saying that he's
you
great.
can.
But you're like,
Deservedly so. Deservedly
he won the Oscar. He won
sure
the
did.
Oscar. So, yeah, it's a great. It feels so much. Sorry, it feels so much like a Tom Clancy, like a Jack Ryan kind of movie, but it's not. Yeah, I love it. It's great. I'm gonna probably go watch it today.
Very nice. What is your number 3, Andrew?
My number 3, this is, well, it's going to get trumped, I think. This is where I have Blade Runner 2049.
Trump.
Trump! Very
All
good.
right, on to your number 3, Alice.
Might get trumped. Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah.
Trump! All right. Oh, it's happening again. Phil's going to have some editing to do on this one. Am I back?
Yeah.
I think I'll have to reset my board once we're done. Hopefully that clears out whatever electricity is going on in there right now. All right. Where were we at?
Number 2s.
Our number 2s?
Yeah.
Okay. On to our number 2s. I have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at number 2.
So do I.
Hey, it's
Hey!
unanimous. We all
Patrick.
placed it in the right place. We've already talked a little bit about how this is our favorite Indiana Jones movie. I will let you guys talk a little bit about why, if you like. Alice, what do you love about The Last Crusade?
Oh, it's just so fun. It's definitely like, I remember when I went to go watch the original ones. I had heard so many things about Raiders, and I thought it was going to be, everyone talks about it like it's the greatest movie of all time or something. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, that was good. And then I watched Temple of Doom and, it was fine. And then I watched Last Crusade and it's just got so much fun. It's just the challenge. I love the dynamic between Indy and his dad. I love the like old school, challenges, and the villains are really fun villains. And I think it's such a fun Indiana Jones movie. And every time I'm like, oh no, you're going to choose the wrong thing. Ha ha ha. And it's like, yeah, I enjoy that.
You have chosen wisely.
Yes.
Andrew, some thoughts?
Number ones? Last Crusade is one of the best movies. It's close to being a perfect movie. It really is.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Sean Connery was 58 when Last Crusade was shot, as compared to Harrison Ford being 81 when this movie was shot. Also, Sean Connery only 12 years older than Harrison Ford, so very, very young fathering of a child. So
it's the white beard and the angry eyebrows. That's what gives dad vibes.
All right, on to our number 1s. My number 1 is a movie simply called Star Wars. It is a beautiful film that launched a franchise. Some people call it A New Hope. Some people call it Star Wars 4. They are all wrong. It is just Star Wars. I don't know. Is it controversial for your favorite Star Wars film to be Star Wars? If so, count me as controversial.
No, I think that's the majority. Or would you say Empire is the majority?
I think Empire is the majority.
I think Empire is the
most people
majority.
go with Empire. Few people go with Last Jedi.
Honestly, I think that closely following Empire would be the original Star Wars.
Yeah, I think so too. Anyways, I love it. It's hard to overstate how much this movie meant to me. So yeah, Star Wars is my number 1. Andrew, what's your number 1?
Empire, the next movie. So when you're done watching Aaron's favorite, watch my favorite.
That's right.
Yeah. I've said everything I could ever say about Empire, really.
Yeah, Alice, you had it on your list too, right?
I want it known. It's not my favorite Star Wars. That is The Last Jedi, because that's the
Nice.
correct answer. But but I do really. Empire is the next one. But I couldn't put Last Jedi. I was like, oh, maybe does he cameo in the? No, he doesn't. I was like, damn it.
He does in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I was not putting that movie on here. But no, I did. I think Empire is one of the great, first like more earlier in cinema, not early in cinema, but far enough away in time where it really does have the not everything's going to end how you want it to end, and it actually, it's just a really great film with a great development of character, great development of story and world building. And you can really sense that maybe George Lucas is great. He's an ideas man, but when it comes to execution, he needs to leave that sometimes to people who have more ability. And I think that was left in number 2. And that's why it's so great. And yeah, I mean, this is a question. Do you think this is a movie that someone can just like watch without having seen the first? What? Not like if you haven't ever, but it just, for me, I feel like I always have to watch Star Wars and then I always have to put on Empire Strikes Back. Like I can't just put on Empire Strikes Back.
I think Empire works as its own movie.
Empire.
Yeah, I think it works as its own movie. I've heard, in fact, it was one of my frustrations. I heard people comparing Across the Spider-Verse, or is it Into the Spider? I forget which order they go in. Across is the new one, right? I hear people comparing the end of Across the Spider-Verse to the end of Empire, and I'm like, no. Like the end of Empire is, yes, a downer of an ending, but it is an ending. Like it is an ending of that story, even though it's a bit of a downer. So yeah, I think it's a complete film. All right, on to your number 1, Alice.
Oh, yes. My number 1 is Blade Runner 2049 because it's amazing and Denis Villeneuve can literally do no wrong. And who would have thought, especially because I am not that big of a fan of the original Blade Runner. I know, how dare I? But I found the original one.
Nobody on this panel is, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's just, I remember watching it being like, I'm ready. Sci-fi, the movie that created really what the sci-fi genre is today. And I was so bored the whole movie. And especially because it is my dad's favorite movie.
That's the worst.
Yeah, I was like, well, no. But then 2049 came out and I was like, well, I do really love a Blade Runner. And it's this one because it's amazing. And just Denis Villeneuve, I think this is the one that really cemented his place as my favorite director working today. And I just think he has such an ability to take story. And like, I remember when it was announced, everyone had the roll eyes of, oh, nobody wants a Blade Runner sequel. Turns out I really wanted a Blade Runner sequel because it's just, I love the exploration of themes of what it is to be human. That's my crack when it comes to science fiction. And it was delivered it in spades. I also think Harrison Ford's inclusion in it is actually really well done. Just enough for it to give you enough about Deckard, but it's also not like, oh, here are all the answers to the questions you guys have had over the last 30 years. It's just stunning and beautiful and I love it. It's a great movie.
I agree. I had it at number 4. I agree with everything you said. I think it's great. Andrew, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I had it at number 3 and yeah, it was definitely a groundbreaking movie for me. I think the sound design in this movie is like up there with some of the best sound design of any movie ever. And we're talking about Harrison Ford movies. I think Harrison Ford is great in this.
It's not really his movie,
no, it's not.
It's not, but he does do well with what he's doing.
Yeah,
I think it's just the right amount of Deckard. Like you don't want Blade Runner 2049 to be just Deckard 2.0. Like I think they really did the right thing by making him just a side character on a different character's quest.
Right. Honorable mentions. There's certainly plenty we can mention. I will start off since I already kind of teased. The one I was really debating with What Lies Beneath for my number 5 is Clear and Present Danger. I really love that movie. It is my favorite of the Jack Ryan films. And just for that, like confronting the president scene alone, that movie is in my top. It's so good. And then I also wanted to mention Mosquito Coast, which I think is underseen and is really, really good. Another very different Harrison Ford performance, if you're looking for those. And Witness. Had to mention Witness as well. I think Witness is phenomenal. What other honorable mentions did you guys have?
Well, I'll tell you what the Gurus had written down for their list. So the top 3 picks for the Gurus, number 3 was Blade Runner 2049.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 was Last Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1 was Empire Strikes Back.
There you go.
Opposite
Last
order
Crusade. Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Unanimous number 2, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a plenty of votes for Raiders, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
There were plenty of votes for Raiders.
Well, the correct movie won.
And did you mention Clear and Present Danger, Aaron?
I did, yeah.
Okay,
He had a
just
little
making sure.
spiel on it.
I did a whole thing
Well,
where it was like almost
I
my
was
number
trying
5.
to find. I was sorry, I wasn't listening because I was trying to find the Gurus list. My bad.
Yeah. Did you have any, Alice? Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I did have a couple. One is a movie called Extraordinary Measures with a new Oscar winner. Oh my God, I forgot his name. Brendan Fraser. Oh, Fraser. Oh my goodness, that was a good look. Look, guys, I'm still waking up. It's the morning for me. With Brendan Fraser and Harrison Ford, it's a very touching drama. And I think it was just as Brendan Fraser was being pushed out of Hollywood, so it was like one of his very last, starring roles. But I remember really enjoying it when I watched it. I do enjoy Ender's Game. I do enjoy that. I love a good sci-fi, especially with a big moral, complication in it. And then I know it's a TV show, but I did want to mention Shrinking because that is really amazing. It's so good. It's so good. Apple TV Plus is putting out some amazing stuff, and Shrinking is definitely one of them. And I really, really love Harrison Ford's character in it. I think that it's perfect for where he is in, what everyone thinks of Harrison Ford as a grumpy old man, but he's got so much heart and love. And I think the dynamic between the main cast is amazing. I really recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it already.
Very nice. Well, there you go. The best ever Harrison Ford movies. Well, it's time for the buried treasure, guys. What is that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about? Alice, you're our guest, so you'll go last. Andrew, why don't you kick us off?
This was one of my buried treasures not too long ago, but I'm revisiting it because there was a new season of Ink Master that came out. It was Ink Master season 14, and it's on Paramount Plus. And I have to say, out of every single season of Ink Master that I've seen, which is all of them, this is the best season they've ever done. The new judges they brought in, Ryan Ashley, Nick Hurtado, Ami James, it's a stellar judging panel, and they brought back all of the best artists that they've ever had, like past winners, past people who people thought they should have won. And it's really intense because there are no bad tattoos this season. Every single tattoo is super, super good.
Nice.
You guys know me. I love tattoos. I got 9 of them now after today. Yeah, even if you don't like the idea of a tattoo is like off-putting to you, I still think that they're like getting a tattoo sounds off-putting. I still do think that you could find the artistic and the competence that the people are displaying in their craft is something that's just it's something to behold. It really is.
Nice. My buried treasure is possibly the best season of television I've ever seen. At least in that conversation, Watchmen has something to say about that. But The Bear season 2 is absolutely phenomenal television. I was not prepared for how good this TV show was going to be in season 2. I was watching it and I thought, I'll watch a few episodes, and I watched it all in one day, all 10 episodes. The first 5, I was going, this show is so good, it's transcendent, it's so well done. And then it went to another level in episode 6 through 10, and episode 6 is a tour de force by at least a half a dozen people. And then it just ramps the back half of the season into some amazing stuff.
How does episode 6 of this season compare to episode 7 of season 1, which is the big melting,
That's right. That's the
boiling point
comparison a lot of
episode?
people are doing. I think every one of the final 5 episodes is better than episode 7 of season 1. So yeah, it's incredible. Love the Bear. If you're not watching it, I cannot recommend it highly enough.
I'm so excited for Australia to get it in like 3 weeks. I'm so angry at Australia. I want to watch it so badly.
VPN.
I'm sure you could find it somewhere online.
I know, but I'm trying. No, I know, I can, but I want to try and. I'm trying to like. I want to support it, and I want to watch it on the platform. And,
well, right, but you are paying for the platform. Listen to me. This is a entertainment show. This is all for entertainment. I'm not offering any kind of legal advice to anyone. Thank you, Alice, for doing the right thing.
Look, we'll see. I've held out for like all of 4 days. We'll see how long that goes for.
All right, Alice, what is your buried treasure?
Well, my original buried treasure, I've changed it, and that's the one that I gave the name of to Phil, because my original one was going to be Silo, and then I was listening to the Spider-Verse episode, and Andrew had to recommend it, didn't he? And
I'm sorry, if you would have let me know, I would have picked something
3 weeks
else.
ago, yeah. But, I will say the season ended like yesterday, and oh my god, one of the most amazing. I love this show so much. Please watch Silo. It's amazing. But that's not my buried treasure. My buried treasure is actually a new movie, or newer-ish movie called No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. I am a huge Jennifer Lawrence fan. Have been since Hunger Games, and I was really excited to see her back. Look, was I super keen for this movie going in? No, because I, like many other people, might have misunderstood, I think as well, because of the marketing and how it is, what it actually is. This, I understand that some people have been a bit wary about it because it's like, oh, that's weird. It's a 32-year-old woman seducing a 19-year-old boy. That's not what it is. That is not what this movie is. This is actually
a man with a 19-year-old, right? Like that's I
don't know.
Is it? Boy.
Yeah, that's true. 19-year-old person, man, a 19-year-old. How about that? We'll end it there. But the point
is,
and
how old is she in the movie?
She's 32.
32, so 20. So 23 is the youngest according to Half Plus 7. So
half your age plus 7.
Yeah,
that's
so she's pushing it. She's.
I
underneath.
will say this: she's not doing it because the plot. If people don't know, the plot is basically that she is an Uber driver. Her car, actually, Ebon from The Bear is in this movie. But it basically her car gets towed and she can't make money to save her house, so she takes on a Craigslist ad that she finds. And this movie is based on a real Craigslist ad that they found, where the parents are like, please come date our son, bring him out of his shell, and then we'll give you a car in return. And so that's why she engages with the entire situation. But what from the outside might seem a little bit, again, people have been wary about it because of it's actually just a really nice, raunchy, sure, but more of a friendship comedy, I'd say. No point during the movie am I like, oh yes, the chemistry, oh yes, this is a sex comedy like it was in the early 2000s. It's more just these two people that have been thrown into this situation, and they both have reasons to require a friend, really, and to each learn from each other. And I think that what's really, really great is that the 19-year-old, his character is just as well developed as Jennifer Lawrence's character, and they both really bring a lot to the movie. And it's actually got some really funny subversive moments where it is, I won't spoil what it is, but there's a particular moment on a beach where they somehow take one of the most beautiful women in the world and make her so you are not thinking about how attractive she is, even though she's in a more compromising position, because it's very well done. But it's just, it's a really good comedy. I really do recommend it. It's so fun. I wouldn't even classify it as a romantic comedy. It's more of just like a friendship comedy, if anything. And definitely recommend.
Nothing has made me feel older on this episode than you insinuating that the height of sex comedies was the 2000s. Yes, I know of American Pie, but it was 20 years before that when that was at its height. But anyhow,
in my day,
yes.
as I've been alive.
Yes. Yeah, the word on No Hard Feelings is it's kind of bringing back the raunch-com, and so I'm curious what that means, and glad to hear a good review of it. So that is No Hard Feelings out in theaters. The Bear is on Hulu, and Ink Master is on Paramount Plus. Well, we did it, guys. We managed to do a podcast. So congratulations to everyone involved. Thank you so much for joining us today for Sif Pop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again today.
Thank you, buddy.
Big thanks to producer Phil for producing the audio and video show.
Thanks, Phil.
And thank you to Alice McKelly for coming by once again. Alice, where do you want to send people?
Well, as always, I am a writer for sifpop.com, so you can find my most recent review was for Elemental, so you can find that up now. And then otherwise, you can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram at AliGMick. And yeah, come have a chat. That's the main stuff happening right now.
Very cool. Well, thank you for being with us again. Always appreciate having you on. Much love and gratitude to our Sif Pop members as well. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to patreon.com/SifPop. Lots of ways to connect with us. Feel free to leave a comment, a rating, or a review at wherever you listen, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can email us if you want, feedback@sifpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too, so let them know about it and that listening is much easier than escaping a prison melee when it's 1,000 versus you and a friend with half a shovel. We'll be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks with Dead Reckoning and Asteroid City is what the plan is. So we will see you then. Bye.
Bye.
To all those hanging out on video, thank you for being here. We're going to jet so we can record a Sif spoil real quick. But really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Bye.
Yeah.